So, you think you know about horror? Well, I did, back in 2004. I've read my Stephen King's, my Clive Barker's, my H.P. Lovecraft's, and then I've read Jack Ketchum's The Girl Next Door, and the book just told me you know nothing about horror, Jon Snow. The Girl Next Door was published in 1989. It's written by Jack Ketchum. Even though we consider it a horror novel, it's actually based on a real crime. It's based on the murder of Sylvia Likens in Indianapolis in 1965, and the case was also the basis for the movie An American Crime. Jack Ketchum, also known as Dallas Mayer, is a horror author, born in 1946, and he passed away this year on January 24th. The Girl Next Door was his fifth novel. Even though it's not his most infamous or his most extreme novel, the title probably belongs to his debut, Off Season, which is his effort to translate the grindhouse style of movies he used to watch to books. It was published in 1981 and was heavily censored because of the extreme violence. But let's get back to The Girl Next Door. I doubt it's his most extreme work. I would probably consider his best works to be read, but it was definitely the book that made him splash. Stephen King praised this book, said that three things are certain: death, taxes, and that Disney would never make a Jack Ketchum movie. And to be honest, I shudder to think at how many people have seen this Stephen King blurb on the cover and bought the book thinking they're getting another Stephen King-like book. No, it's nothing like that. The Girl Next Door starts with Dave, who is an adult. The first phrase you will read is, "So you're thinking about pain?" And it's a bit of hyperbole. You say, what the hell, right, what does the guy know about pain? And by the end of the book, you know what he knows about pain. Not his own pain, the pain he has witnessed, the evil he has witnessed and has scarred him inside. Dave narrates about his childhood in the 50s. At first, we have this idyllic picture of a small town America. Small houses, picket fences, everybody is minding their own business. And then we have a dark reflection of it, almost put together at the same time. David's parents are about to divorce. His next door neighbors are a single mother and her three children. And the single mother is loved by the children because she humors them, she allows them to drink beers or watch television, and she's kind of insane. Her name is Ruth. Her house has a nuclear bunker underneath, and the children's favorite pastime is having a sadistic game, simply called The Game, where they tie up one of them on a tree and torture him or her. Enter Meg and Susan. They're Ruth's nieces who have lost their parents and are being taken in by Ruth. Meg is the title's girl next door. She's a teenager, she's very pretty, and Dave falls head over heels over her. Ruth doesn't, however. Soon, she starts to abuse her, locks her up in her bunker, and she has the kids of the neighborhood abuse her as a game. I know what you're thinking. It sounds exactly like some sick torture porn. And you are probably right to some extent. But it's not. It goes much, much deeper because Jack Ketchum is a great writer. He gets two things absolutely right. The first one is the escalation of plot. The torturing starts as a very mundane thing. It's just a rude girl that has to be taught how to behave by an adult. because we're in the 50s and casual abuse of children is something not only accepted, it's required. And as we go along, this becomes a game for the children. Meg is tied up and free for them to punish them, but there are always some rules. Okay, she's a very pretty girl, and we have a lot of boys. So yeah, you can see where this goes, but Ruth is there and saying, no stripping, no touching, no, no, no. But then she goes on and makes the rules more lax, the torture more sadistic. There are some very extreme scenes in there towards the end of the book, and the author never shies away from showing what's happening. But he also knows where he should pull out and just not describe what's happening, and that makes those scenes even worse. It is this escalation of violence that makes Jack Ketchum stand out as an author. He really gets it, and he uses it throughout all of his books. And this escalation of violence is also matched with the deterioration of Ruth's mental health. She had problems at the beginning, she had a lot of internalized misogyny, I guess, and she was probably a psychopath already. But by the end of the book, she's a wreck, and everybody knows that. The second thing done right by Jack Ketchum is getting to the psychology of the reader. The book is narrated by David, reminiscing of what was happening back then, and his point of view is excellent. He knows what's happening is wrong. He's a normal person, not a psychopath like some of the kids in the neighborhood. But he's also fascinated by the horror show he's watching every day. He knows that, for instance, stripping Meg is wrong, but he's aroused by the sight of her naked body. I mean, yes, he has feelings for her, he loves her, but at the same time, he's a teenage boy in a society that assumes that, yes, you can abuse women and children when they're disrespectful. For instance, in one scene, Meg tries to warn a police officer about the tortures she endures in Ruth's house, and she's not believed by him, and that gets her in more problem. David is torn because he knows what he has to do. He has to save Meg, but at the same time, the society he's in demands of him not to do nothing, mind his own business. Even though the book is not political, it gives a great insight on what happens when a psychopath is an authority figure, and his endorsement of violence, of torture, of extremism provides the rest of the society, of his followers, to commit heinous atrocities. Don't forget that Ruth is an adult and a parent, so she can allow children to be monsters. Dave is also an insight to the psyche of the reader of horror novels, because let's be honest, a book is fiction. Even when based in reality, the people in there are not real. However, when you read a horror book and an innocent girl like Meg is being tortured progressively more and more, you have an option to stop the torture. You can close the book. Instead, we choose to indulge our fascination with violence and just continue reading, waiting for the good part to come, and for those very, very sweet moments of violence. You know what I mean, right? When I read The Girl Next Door for the first time, I was curious, so I didn't know what to expect. So I took the book at about 10 o'clock in night, and I started reading just, a couple pages. And at 2 o'clock in the morning, I finished the book. I looked blankly at the void and say, damn it, why did I read this thing? I need to have a shower. And I guess many of you will feel this way after reading this book, the guilt of why do I enjoy this thing? Well, The Girl Next Door is not the most extreme book I've ever read. I've read much, much worse. However, it was my first extreme horror book, And I think it's a great insight of what extremity, what violence is about. It's a great book about the dark place within us, within society. And at the end of it, I feel it will make the reader to consider how mind your own business is never a good advice when it comes to abuse. I mean, if you had Meg next door, would you mind your own business? Would you consider Ruth as your friend and you shouldn't rat her out to the cops? Or would you do the right thing and try to warn authorities about it? And if authorities chose not to listen, what would you do then? Jack Ketchum chose to write a simple book about a boy, a girl, and a lot of nasty stuff. His writing style is very simple with small sentences, small paragraphs, a bit choppy, but still has a great rhythm. And I doubt he aspired for this book to be more than a horror tale. However, his talent, his understanding of human nature and authority and violence transcend the crime horror genre, and The Girl Next Door is an excellent book. A book you should read if you're a horror fan. It's not your run-of-the-mill horror, goblins and clowns and aliens and monsters and vampires. It's about human monsters. It's about the reader and his craving for torture. It's about how society allows for atrocities to happen, and it may or may not change your mind about what horror is. It is a must read, a grim read, a book you should read if you like horror. And if you like horror and are interested in more presentation of books, you should definitely subscribe to this channel, hit the bell for notifications, and see you soon with another grim read.